Hello everyone, welcome to today's session to meditate together. Understand the self, the inner world. To see why the mind is confused about everything. School, family, work, relationship, life and death. There are numerous questions in life. And all the answers to these questions lie in the mind, the inner world. To meditate is really to place the mind in silence, not only verbally, which is rather easy, but inwardly, silent, no words, no thoughts to attach. Set aside all the things human has created and just be at this moment to look this mind, look at life. It's not you that look at the mind, but there's only look. No subject, just look. Most time, people are caught in thoughts, in all kinds of theories, or want to find comfort from all kinds of thoughts, ideas. But the more one seek pleasure, seek comfort from thoughts, the more confused one will be. Because the answers never lie in the thoughts. But we are so attached to thoughts. Thoughts have become so important in life, almost at each corner of life. It seems that life is almost everything for the life. We seek pleasure from thoughts. We get trouble from thoughts. Such a way of life is a perpetual battlefield with its incessant problems, which we spent most of our life solving them one by one. It is never gone until we begin to tackle the root of all issues. Not only your personal issues, but all the human issues, the root of them. Which is the thought. To meditate is to see this clearly. Thoughts breed all kinds of disorder, all kinds of issues in life. To see this disorder clearly, one has to go deeply into this, the heart, the mind, to really perceive, to see the totality of the construct of the thoughts, to really see the consequence of the thoughts in life. We sacrifice the whole life for the occasional pleasure which thought can bring about. It's not a bargain at all, though we tend to think it's a bargain, isn't it? The mind tends to calculate, speculate. The mind wants to calculate, to get more, to gain more. But in the domain of thoughts, everything is counterintuitive. Things that seem to be intuitive is often deceiving. Without realizing this deeply, the mind is always trapped in some loopholes, in some issues, until we can have a new mind which is able to perceive all these traps, all these loops, choicelessly. We have too many choices, options in life, which are all in the domain of thoughts. Those options has become the escape. As long as we choose, we can't face the issues, because we always have the chance, always have the option to evade them, to escape from them. But the more one escape, the more issues accumulated. Until we let go all the choices, all the options, just face the self, face all the issues, all the mischiefs created by the self. So we can be extremely honest with the self. This honesty brings about the radical change to the mind. So the mind is no longer trapped by thoughts. When the mind is beyond the thoughts, the mind is very clear, very lucid. Such a mind has no issues at all. That's the meaning of meditation in life. Not only in the few minutes of the sitting meditation, but the lifelong practice at each moment, to observe, to learn with a fresh mind, to live fully at each moment. To solve the issues at each moment, never accumulate. So we can say To meditate is to live with a fresh mind, new images, new thoughts, new ideas, new conclusions, new assumptions to accumulate. The mind is always young, fresh, innocent. And such a mind is strong, impregnable. Don't agree or disagree with the speaker. You have to try it, verify it in your life to see whether this is the case. So before we continue today's journey together, let's keep silent for 3 or 4 minutes to empty the mind. Perhaps you have a lot of knowledge about meditation already, a lot of experience. Let's go over them. Let's explore the mind with a fresh mind. To meet each moment anew. What is life? Life is a journey for everyone to live on this planet for a while. Decades, up to 100 years. Why is the life so tangible? Isn't it because of the neuron systems, the rich sensations from the neurons, which brings about the feelings, emotions, senses, perceptions? So the meaning of life relies on the neuron systems, the neurons, neuron cells. To live a life which is full of harmony, is to let the neurons function harmoniously. Harmony means no disorder. So the mind functions in a healthy way, in a sane way. So at each moment, one can be connected with nature. One can perceive the life, the surroundings at each moment. But why does such a life become so difficult for many people? Why the total neuron system has been taken over by thoughts, a very small part of it? The vastness of the neuron system, the beauty of it, has been reduced to a very small corner of the neuron system, which is the thoughts. Human beings have overplayed the thoughts in all kinds of ways. The whole society is based on thoughts, based on measurements, isn't it? Where there are thoughts, there are measurements. Measurements means the movement of the thoughts. If the mind is trapped in all kinds of measurements, the mind is inevitably in thoughts, isn't it? Look at the life. How many measurements are there? Measurements implies standard, implies what should be, what should not be. Measurement implies success, personal success, achievement, progress. I want to be better. I want to have more. All kinds of comparatives. Measurements also implies comparison, isn't it? For people living in the same society, the mind of each person is sharing similar standards, criterions inherited from the culture, from the environment, tradition. When sharing the similar standards, criterion, people tend to compare. Comparison means the active thoughts in evaluating, judging, calculating, speculating. You see, there are so many measurements in life, isn't it? No matter which culture you are in, which society you are living in. They are all measurements. When the life is trapped in measurements, thoughts becomes very important, taking over the life. Such a life, the daily activities are full of comparison, calculation, speculation, evaluation. Making the mind very shallow, very superficial, very petty, very little, isn't it? Look at the society, the world, the technology, the commercialism, the consumerism are all based on measurements. Take the technology, for example. There are a lot of progress based on measurement, isn't it? Like the smartphone, faster CPU, larger memory, battery, better, brighter screen. Look at all the advertisement for the smartphone. They are full of all kinds of measurement to trick people, this generation of phone is 40% faster than the last generation, so to speak. Have you ever noticed that the advertisement, all kinds of commercials in your life, is full of measurement to make people believe that they are better, to bring about such a perception distorted by the measurement, so you can buy their products. Nowadays, the performance of a computer or a smartphone has been redundant. It has been sufficient for most people. But the war over the measurement between different businesses and companies are still continuing. Look at life. All kinds of numbers about the finance, about the money, a lot of things. We tend to calculate, we tend to compare, which triggers a lot of things, doesn't it? Measurement inevitably leads to comparison. Comparison has its place in life, isn't it? For food, we can compare which is more tasteful. For clothes, we can compare to see which is more suitable. And the mind has to compare to make sure that the life is protected, is safe. Compare what is safe against what is dangerous, what is poisonous. But psychologically, mentally, why do we compare? Why do we have so many measurements psychologically to compare ourselves against others? In all kinds of subtle ways. In many moments of life, one may not aware that one is comparing. Though one can feel the consequence of it, definitely. The turbulence, the chaos of the mind, when it compares itself with others. Comparison implies division between you and me, so we can compare. I compare myself against you. I want to outperform you. Such a division inevitably leads to conflict. Comparison enhances the self, the ego, doesn't it? Which is a concept, a fragment of the mind. So it's up to everybody to observe this in life, from the daily conversation, to observe the tendency of the mind to compare on all kinds of subtle ways, to see the consequence on you, to see how the self is triggered, so the mind becomes turbulent, conflicted. To see how easy the mind begins to compare when the mind receives different information, like hearing a different name or different things. To notice this tendency at each situation of the life. Where there's division between you and me, the self wants to seek pleasure from comparison. I want to compare favorably against you. Right? I have more money. I have more experience. I have a better phone, better computer. The mind is always seeking pleasure from the comparison, which inevitably incurs sorrow. If one compares favorably, one feels great. But if one compares unfavorably, one feels terrible. It is very important to notice this problem of comparison mentally. To see this situation, if one seeks pleasure from comparison, one will begin to compare more, incurring more issues. It's a loop. To meditate is to inquire seriously, can I live a life without any comparison? Mentally, psychologically. Can I live a life where there's no space at all for comparison? So I am connected with everybody around me as human beings. Not the divided concept, you and me, to compare, to fight against, to quarrel, to compete. Can I really accept who am I at this moment without any comparison, not based on any standards? If I follow some standards, some measurement, I follow some authority. Therefore, I can't learn about myself. How can one learn oneself based on standards created by others? There's nobody else than you can really understand yourself. So to meditate is to see ourselves clearly, not through some standards, not through some authorities, but see ourselves clearly as who we are. That's to say, to be really honest with the whole being. That's also to say, to live a life without the self. Without this concept created by the disorder of the mind. Therefore, where there's no self, there's no disorder. When the mind is free from this disorder, the mind is in contact with nature, right? When we can enjoy each moment, enjoy the views around us, the hustles and bustles of the city. Open to this, never refuse. So we can also say, to meditate is to have no any mental resistance. So the door of the heart is always open. When it's transparent, everything can pass through without staying. Such a life is alive. Such a life is full of dynamics. And such a life is beautiful. It's beautifully simple and simply beautiful. Great. After this half an hour's exploration, it's time for us to meditate. Following the audio guide, let's empty the mind again in silence to observe without being an observer. To really feel the breath while embracing everything around you. No resistance, just fully open to it. Now, let's start meditation. Now, let's take a 10-minute meditation. Start by taking a moment to find a comfortable position to sit in a posture that you feel relaxed and get alert. Let hands rest on your knees or laps. Let the eyes close gently. Soften your forehead. Act a soft smile in the corner of your lips. Breathe naturally. As you breathe in, be aware that you are breathing in. Feel the sensation of breathing in. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. As you breathe out, be aware that you are breathing out. Feel the sensation of breathing out. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. Fix your attention on the breath. Let go of any thought, words, images. This moment, nothing is more important than breath. While you are listening to the bell, check where your attention is. If it wasn't on the breath, after the bell, gently invite your attention back to the breath and sustain your attention on the breath. Slowly bring your awareness back to this room. Feel into your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. When you are ready, open your eyes. Hopefully the past 15 minutes has brought you some peace and calm. So we all can meet at this moment anew, afresh. If you find this session helpful, please share it with more people to pass on this clarity to more people. And if you would like to, welcome to donate to the session. All the income will be used in the foundation to bring clarity to more people. To meditate is to really examine each corner of life seriously. Here, can we live a life beyond comparison? If the life has no comparison, the life itself is beyond comparison, isn't it? Without comparison, the mind is freed from that loop, from the self. So the whole mind and body are together, are the one, to be in real contact with nature, with the world. Such a life is vast. It's a vast space. Where the true freedom flourishes. When feels free. Without the mischief, the issues from the self, the ego. When the mind is caught in the comparison, the mind becomes very small, very narrowed to that small space, which is full of conflicts, which is crowded with so many people, so many ideas, concepts. To meditate is to live a life which is not contained by thoughts. But to be really at this moment. And this is the joy of life. Great. By the end of the session, the speaker wants to express the gratitude again for so many people from different countries to meet, to meditate at this moment. And hopefully, we can see each other again in the future sessions. May everybody have a peaceful, joyful day, and take care.
Siko is maybe is dealing some technical stuff.
No problem.
And Joyce, just would like to share something on Insight Timer. So today, there are